When searching the area near the X, they found another body. She was a Black woman who had been killed months earlier and was unidentifiable due to decomposition. Her cause of death, again, couldn't be determined. But now that police knew that this was indeed their killer, they keep going back to the fact that this letter referred to this victim as number 17.
Yeah, when I read it, that was the first thing that jumped out to me. He said 17.
17.
And we've been keeping track this whole time. And police at this point only think there's 10.
Maybe 10 if we're counting
Mary. Yeah.
And so we're at like 9 potentially. So the fact that there's that many women, that many victims potentially missing, I mean, they're in a tailspin.
Yeah.
Like either he's bragging about more murders than he'd actually committed, or again, like there's more people out there to be found. In the meantime, the Illinois State Police have an idea about how they could catch this person though. So as we just talked about, like the killer did crop that URL after printing the map from the website. Police kind of figured that if they could find out what site that map came from, like there were multiple providers. I was a MapQuest person. There was a bunch of other different providers. They figured that if they could find out what provider that was, they could go to that provider and say, hey, these are the coordinates. Can you track or provide us what IP address requested
those specific coordinates?
Who made that search for that specific area?
Yeah.
Can you tell us that?
Boom, they just have him.
Yeah. They assumed this would likely lead right to their killer, which is clue number 7 for us, tracking the map. Back in 2002, it wasn't super easy to get maps online. Like I remember traveling across the US with my dad and like having the big book that you'd like
the
trace
atlas.
The atlas.
I always remind my dad of that every time he yells at me for looking at my phone to go somewhere. I'm like, you used to have like 17 pages out on the dashboard.
Yeah.
Screaming at all of them.
Yeah. I remember printing off MapQuest directions to go from Duluth, Minnesota to Minneapolis. And it was like 2 frickin' turns. But still, I had my MapQuest printout ready to go.
But that's interesting because back in the day, there weren't a lot of places you could get maps online. So even the police, if they don't know the website because they don't see the URL, I would think there's only like a handful of places that it could be.
Yeah, and it wasn't before long that analysts with the Illinois State Police eventually narrowed down the list to just one website, Expedia.com, which was actually owned by Microsoft. And for those of you that don't know, because I feel like it's just common lingo now, it's just like we don't really know what it means, but we know what it is. An IP address is a unique numerical label assigned to every device connected to a computer network that uses the internet protocol for communication. So internet protocol equals IP. And so essentially this IP address is like a direct mailing address for that device. It basically can reveal the approximate location, but it doesn't actually provide a precise home address, which I found to be pretty interesting.
Which also, you take for granted how little people knew about technology back then. Like the person who was doing this probably didn't know that it would have been so easy for them to just find him.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this with BTK as well. This was around the same time that BTK was asking the cops if floppy disks could be tracked. Like they just, this stuff was relatively new. So people didn't know that, hey, when I use it, I'm basically leading authorities right back to me.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about MapQuest and Expedia, but like there weren't apps. Like Google Maps was not a thing.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have Apple Maps on your iPhone. The technology, even though it's not that long ago, was vastly different. But they knew that like, okay, this is coming from Expedia.com. So next, investigators sent Microsoft and Expedia a subpoena. They wanted every IP address who had searched for a map of West Alton between the day of Bill's article, May 19th, and the day that the letter was mailed, May 21st. So, I mean, they had a pretty tight window at least.
You have the website, you have the dates, and you have the coordinates.
Mm-hmm. And Expedia responded with only one IP address, IP 65.227.106.78. The user assigned to that number had clicked to zoom in on this specific area in West Alton 10 times until the map on his screen looked exactly like the version that was sent to investigators.
Wow.
Every week we dive into the pieces, both hidden and obvious, behind some of the biggest true crime cases. Subscribe to Clues Pod with Morgan Absher and Kaelyn Moore on YouTube.
And remember, every clue counts.